So I've been daily driving this, the Redmi Note 14, for the last week or so, and Xiaomi may have just taken the crown from Samsung as the king of budget phones. Well, almost. I want to go over 3 things I love and 4 things which you should be cautious about if you're thinking of buying this phone. The first thing I love is the size. At a whopping 6.67 inches, the 1080p AMOLED display simply screams attention. With a refresh rate up to 120 Hz, 1800 nits peak brightness, with Corning Gorilla Glass 5, a reading mode, a sunlight mode, a low blue night mode to save your eyes at night, I'm just in love with this display. Now it's only 1080p, so it won't stack up to your iPhones or your S25 Ultras, but it's a phone that costs like $200 compared to $1,000. And while I will always take all the pixels you can throw on the screen, a smallish screen up close to me, day to day, the display was just beautiful to me. Now, I know on the internet, the go-to thing is to say you want a smaller phone, but larger phones always sell more. And it's because of people like me. I'm sorry. I love the real estate on the phone, and I'm quickly learning as I grow older. Larger phones with larger letters on the screen just work better for me.
You are an old man and a fool!
And I love playing games and watching YouTube and TikTok on my phone, and that display really makes that a more pleasurable experience.
What do you mean by that?
And while we're talking about pleasurable experiences, I have to shout out Xiaomi's HyperOS. The Redmi runs on Android 14, like almost all phones bar Apple, and Xiaomi have skinned Apple to be very much like, well, Apple. And I say this as a good thing. The UI of Apple is one of the key selling points, and the menus in this phone scream out Samsung's One UI and Apple's iPhone. There were a few teething issues where I drag down from one half of the screen, I get notifications, and then the other half is the quick action buttons, but that's just me. And more than once I've tried to get my notifications only to get the buttons, but this is down to muscle memory from using Samsung and something you get used to very quickly.
I don't think so, darling.
And similarly, all your apps are stacked one on top of the other instead of next to each other, which is different to Samsung. But so a flick up does nothing, but a flick to the side gives this silky smooth animation. And it's these little touches that really elevate the experience of the Note 14. And it's an experience that will last a while. The 5500 milliamp hour battery is such a game changer for me. Now, I might be scarred from my old 4-year-old phone, which needs multiple charges a day and was seriously on its last legs. But the battery here was such an eye-opener and left me with eyes that had to be wide open for so much longer. Now, it only has a 33-watt fast charging, no wireless charging, which is a bummer if you have chargers lying about, and no charger in the box. Thank you, Apple. But that's every other company now, so I can't blame it anymore. But I just love the battery on this. But some of the things I don't love. First, let's talk about the camera. Now, the best way to describe it is it's okay. A whopping 108 megapixel main camera on the back is paired with a 2 megapixel depth camera and a 2 megapixel macro camera. Even these photos with just way too much noise for my liking. Now, with the main camera, it is possible to get good pictures in good lighting. But here is where I really wish not everything on this camera was 1080p. The pictures look okay now, but I don't think they'll hold up in a few years' time. And the video is, again, capped at 1080p. At 60 frames per second, which again is okay for now, but it will quickly start to show its age. And the front camera is a 20 megapixel camera capable of shooting video at 1080p at 30 frames per second, which for a front camera, it just isn't bad. Like I said, it's okay. What is slightly worse for me is the outdated specs. The phone is powered by the Helio G99 Ultra, which is just not ultra powerful. but I would like to say hello. And if you would like and subscribe, hey, we can say hello together. The Helio G99 Ultra is a 6nm processor. It's an octa-core processor, which is just not a market leader even at this price. And they have 1080p plastered everywhere as if it was a selling point, where Samsung at a similar price point can record in 4K with HDR. Though these older specs come with some great points that I do secretly love. An infrared port, a micro SD card slot, and look at this, a headphone jack. Thank you, Xiaomi. However, none of this distracts from those old specs, especially that processor, which makes your camera clicks just that little bit slower than you would like, meaning capturing anything that moves just that little bit harder. And this older hardware rears its ugly head, especially when gaming. Now, I'm not a huge intensive mobile gamer, even though Xiaomi seems to think I do with all the games and bloatware this phone ships with. Now, one of the trade-offs for a cheaper phone is the manufacturer getting money for pre-installing apps on your phone. But wow, my phone came fully loaded right out the box. Although I do love the way Xiaomi have categorized all my apps in the app drawer. I love that. It saved me so much time. And what do I do with that extra time? Well, I spend that time firing up some games. Now, again, I'm not much of a mobile gamer. I'm more of a casual mobile gamer. On the train or in a waiting room, I'll fire up a game and play for 5 to 10 minutes. Then these more casual games, the Subway Surfers, the Royal Mats, they just work fine, as you would expect. However, firing up something like Call of Duty or Genshin Impact, and we really see where this chipset struggles. It's playable, but you have to dial everything back, which on this 6.67 screen really starts to show. But that's not to say I don't absolutely adore this phone, and I wish it was more. But, at the absolute budget end, I don't think you can get much more phone at this price. Now, sure, you have the Samsung A55 or A55, and it has it beat in some areas, but it's almost a third of the price in most markets. Though Samsung will likely have a new model in March, and until then, I would crown this as the king of budget phones right now. Though I wish they spent more of their budget on the pill. That was the worst pill I've ever done.